These are the kindest criminals in the world. In 2011, a 65-year-old man assaulted a gas station using only an innocent toy gun. He pointed it at the attendant and politely asked him to empty the cash register, promising to return the money along with some food. Before leaving, the man apologized and said he would use the money for rent and food. 1 week later, the old man kept his promise. In Canada, a man stole a car at gunpoint, but before driving off with the car, he made sure that the driver had her phone, her purse, and her lunch. A couple of days later, the woman found her car near her workplace, freshly washed and undamaged. The doors closed and suddenly trapped her backpack, but the driver didn't notice she was trapped. The bus accelerated, dragging her along the road. The girl tried to run to keep up with speed of the bus, but she lost her balance and fell, being dragged along the asphalt for more than 300 meters. Another driver honked his horn, getting the bus driver's attention. The girl suffered serious injuries and burns all over her body and needed multiple surgeries. The driver was fired, and her parents sued him for being such an idiot, but the girl eventually recovered and was able to walk again. In 2009, 4-year-old James was searching for buried treasures with his father using a metal detector. Then, he asked to borrow it and ran off to search the fields. His father hadn't found anything in 15 years, but just 5 minutes after lending it to James, he detected a strong signal on the ground. His father dug a hole, and at the bottom, they found a beautiful gold pendant. They were both thrilled and took it to the museum, where experts estimated it was worth over $3 million. Even so, they sold it for only $70,000, and they had to share part of the earnings with the owner of the land. If you are lost in the desert, look for dead animal bodies. If you sleep inside one, you won't freeze during the night. If you need to cross a frozen river, take off your clothes. When they get wet, they become very heavy, and you will move so slowly that you could die from hypothermia. If you come across a bear, never give it food. It will think you have endless food and will chase you until it eats you. If you go on vacation and the house is empty, leave at least one light turned on. Criminals will think there are people inside and will not break in to steal.
If someone ties you up with a rope, tense your muscles and take a deep breath. This will make your body take up more space between the ropes and you'll escape easily. If you are lost at sea, look for a mirror or any shiny metal object. You can use it to reflect sunlight and signal for help. If you are in a public restroom and there is no toilet paper, run to a nearby store and ask them to wrap a gift. You will spend a lot of money, but at least you will have some wrapping paper. If a dog attacks you, throw your backpack or jacket onto the ground. This may distract the dog and give you time to get away.
If you crash into a power pole and the wire falls, you'll be electrocuted if you get out of the car. That's because touching the car and the ground at the same time creates a circuit. This means that the electricity will travel through the car and into your body as it tries to reach the ground. Instead, jump out with both feet together without touching the vehicle. Now, the ground around the car may still be electrified, and if you walk like you usually do, your legs could create another circuit. So keep your feet together, drag them slowly, and don't stop until you're far away from the wires. The actor slips one arm into the left wing while the right wing is attached by a string, and his other arm reaches up through the neck and into the head. He opens and closes his hand to move the beak while speaking, and his little finger pulls a hidden string that controls the eyes. To help him remember his lines, there is a note taped inside the costume that is illuminated by a small light, and a screen at his waist displays a live feed so he can see his performance in real time. Kids who discovered something by accident. In 2022, a 3-year-old girl was playing in the park with her grandfather. The girl loved digging holes in the sand, and while she was digging, she found a huge gold necklace, and she went straight to show it to her grandfather. He was thrilled and took it to expert jewelers, who confirmed that it was a 16th century medallion worth $3 million. The discovery made headlines around the world, and the grandfather received many offers for the medallion. He eventually sold it and retired with the money, but not before splitting the profits with his granddaughter.
In 1970, a prisoner escaped from his cell using only a magnifying glass. Every day, he placed the magnifying glass in the exact same spot, and the sunlight focused through it heated the bars enough to slowly melt them over time. 18 months later, the prisoner managed to melt the bars and break them easily. Then he used an improvised rope, escaped from his cell, and hid inside a food truck to slip past the guard. The police were never able to explain how he did it, and 4 months later, he was recaptured on a beach and locked up for life.
These are children who discovered something by accident. A girl went to her grandmother's house to help her clean out the basement. Since it was full of piled up stuff, the girl had to climb up onto the shelves to bring down the heaviest boxes. Then, one of the shelves heavily collapsed and fell, tearing a big hole in the wooden floor. When the grandmother went to look at the mess, both were surprised to find the remains of a man under the floor. When they called the police, they confirmed that he was indeed a bad criminal who had escaped from prison, and that he had undoubtedly died of starvation after becoming trapped under the house.
If a bull starts chasing you, most people would try to run away, but bulls can run much faster than humans in a straight line. Instead, jump to one side to get out of the bull's path. If it keeps attacking, try running in a zigzag to confuse it. If you find a big object like a tree, use it as a shield between you and the bull. bull. If it hits you with its horn, stay completely still on the ground without moving. Bulls usually chase movement, so consequently, playing dead can help the bull get bored of you. If you're suffering from bullying and have long hair, cut it right now. If you try to run away during a fight, they'll grab you by the hair to hit you. If you're lost in the desert and see a lot of dead animals, run away as soon as possible. A herd of hyenas is very close by, and they'll eat you. If you're traveling to a country you don't know, don't wear designer or luxury clothing. Criminals will think you have a lot of money and will rob you. If you haven't eaten in many days, don't even think about eating if you don't want to die. If you eat a lot of food all at once, you'll throw it up right away. They put 10 middle school students in a cabin to live on their own for a whole week without any adults. In 2001, an experiment wanted to test the behavior of 12-year-old students, and chaos broke out immediately. They chose a leader and forced the weakest students to clean the cabin. The food consisted only of candy and soda. Within a few hours, the cabin was completely destroyed. They even invented a game to see who could break the most things in the cabin. In the end, they repeated the experiment with 10 teenagers for comparison. If you lie while using a lie detector, the machine will detect both your stress and anxiety, causing a big spike in the graph of the test. But if you place a thumbtack in your shoe before entering the test, you can use it so that you cause the spikes in stress and anxiety, because the pain you feel when stepping on the thumbtack can confuse your brain's responses. And when you tell a lie during the test, the graphs won't detect any spike and it will look like you're telling the complete truth. In 2001, a man opened a letter that released a white powder called anthrax into his face. The bacteria he breathed in traveled deep into his lungs. They released deadly toxins into his bloodstream. Days later, the toxins had damaged his lungs so badly that they could no longer carry enough oxygen and eventually died. Many politicians and journalists received these deadly letters. The letter attacks killed 5 people and left 17 others seriously ill. After weeks of long investigation, the FBI identified Dr. Bruce, a biological weapons expert, as the main suspect, but he took his own life before authorities could arrest him. The woman leaned forward to pet a beluga whale, but as she reached out, her phone slipped out of her pocket and fell into the cold ocean water. But when she began to panic, the beluga whale realized what had happened. So the beluga submerged herself in the cold, dark water to look for the woman's phone. And just when she thought she had lost her phone forever, the beluga emerged from the water with the phone in its mouth. 4 friends go out to have dinner. The check comes out to $40, so each one pays $10. But the waiter realizes that the total was actually $35 because of a special discount. So he decides to give them their $5 back. He gives each of them $1 and keeps $1 for himself as a tip. Now each friend paid $9, which adds up to $36 in total. If you include the waiter's $1 tip, that comes to $37. So where did the $3 go?
In 2018, a dog licked a small cut on its owner's arm, and just a few hours later, she was rushed to the hospital with very serious symptoms. Doctors discovered that a dangerous bacterium commonly found in dog saliva had entered her body through the wound. The infection spread rapidly throughout her entire body, causing her arms and legs to turn an extremely dark color as the tissue slowly began to die. The doctors had no other choice, so they amputated her limbs to stop the infection and save her life. If you get infected with rabies, the virus travels from the wound toward the brain. Once it reaches the brain, you may start noticing symptoms similar to the flu. Days later, you may experience confusion, dizziness, and even a fear of water. And this fear of water can make swallowing extremely difficult, causing excess saliva to build up in the mouth as foam. Weeks later, you may fall into a very deep coma, and because rabies has no effective cure, you will die. If you're going to the hammer game at the local fair, do this to win. First, you have to do the complete opposite of what you think would work. Your instinct will be to smash it with all your strength, but all that strength is wasted immediately after you strike the target with the hammer. If you don't hit the target perfectly straight on, you'll just land a weak off-target blow. The secret isn't about strength, it's about accuracy. Hold the hammer by the very end and focus on hitting the center of the platform. You could seriously hurt your shoulder and tear your muscles if you try to break down a door. Instead, stand in front of the door and step back to build some momentum. Then kick forward with your leg, keeping your other leg straight and putting all your strength into your heel. Aim right at the edge, close to the handle. With the impact, all the energy moves directly into the lock. This can help you break the door open instead of breaking your bones. These are athletes who got caught cheating. In 1986, the most famous player at the World Cup was playing in a very important match. Even though his team still had time to score, he ran toward the goal, received an unexpected pass, and then Oh shit, I'm so cooked, bro. But not as bad as you if you don't watch the new World Cup video I just posted in my channel. There you can watch Soccer Demons, your dad calling you a fatty because you don't like soccer, and the real African Dream Team. Click here to watch the video right now.